Hello everyone, this is the continuation of the lesson Women in Asia, and this is the chapter 8, which is the rhetoric or reality contesting definitions of women in Korea by Sasha Hampson. So, in this topic, pag-aaralan natin yung rhetoric or reality na kalagayan ng gender equality sa Korea. Alam naman natin na ang Korea ay maunlad sa larangan ng pagsasaka hanggang sa industry and trade. But there are things na hindi nagbago, which is the social and cultural norms na nagiging dahilan ng gender inequality, and that is the problem of women in Korea. In emulation of other developed nations and also in response to the active lobbying by Korean women's groups in the 1980s, the Korean government enacted several pieces of legislation that would apparently enhance gender equity in the nation. So dahil nga sa hindi pantay na karapatan between men and women, gumawa sila ng mga laws or acts na makapagbibigay ng pantay na karapatan sa mga kababaihan. Isa na rito ay ang Equal Employment Act, and these legislative changes have improved the lives of Korean women by setting benchmarks for behavior and providing avenues for addressing discriminatory practices. However, katulad nga ng sinabi ko kanina, yung mga gantong full and effective implementation of this progressive legislation para sa mga kababaihan ay nahahadlangan ng social and cultural norms, and most of the women are experiencing discrimination. So as we can see, ang traditional way na pananaw ng Korea sa mga women noon is mga wives and mothers or bearers of sons lang. And itong pananaw na ito, yung humahadlang sa mga kababaihan para makapagtrabaho, maging leaders or maging educated individuals. Once kasi na nalabag nila ito, hindi na masusunod yung traditional Confucian definition of woman. Although, may mga babae naman sa Korea na nakapag-aral, but para lang ma-attract yung mga mayayaman na lalaki sa Korea. Okay, let's talk about the resilience of Confucianism in Korean families. The rapid growth of the Korean economy in the last 3 decades has altered the Korean family structure in significant ways. But, may pagbabago man sa economy nila, pero nananatili pa ring matatag yung paniniwala ng Korean or ng Korea sa Confucian family values. First, let's talk about the urbanization. As the economy shifted away from its reliance on agricultural production, the population has become more urbanized. As we can see, almost 75% of Koreans currently live in urban areas, up from only 28% in 1960. Sa family structure naman, urbanization has reduced the size of the Korean household. And in the 1990s, two-generation households are more common than the traditional three or four-generation extended family model. So noong 1990, two-generation household accounted for 66.3% of households, while three-generation households accounted for only 12.2%. As we can see, mas mataas yung percent ng mga households noong 1990 na two-generation households. So ano nga ba yung pagkakaiba ng two-generation and three-generation household? Sa two-generation households, it consists of parents or in-laws and their adult children or children-in-law. While sa three-generation households naman, it includes parents, their adult children and grandchildren, often with the grandparents and married offspring co-residing. Let's move on to the fertility rate. As a result of rigorous government family planning program over the last 30 years, the fertility rate in Korea has declined from 6.0 births per woman in 1960 to 1.6 births in 1990. So, sa marriage patterns, ito naman yung mga edad na dapat ay may asawa na. Because typically, in Confucian cultures, Yung pagpapakasal is a strong expectation in Korea, and an unmarried woman older than 30 is a cause for concern amongst their friends and relatives. Currently, the average age of marriage for women is 25.3 years and 28.4 years for men. And as educational opportunities for women have expanded, the average age of marriage has increased. Women's average age at first marriage has increased from 21.6 years in 1960 to 25.3 years in 1991. While sa mga lalaki naman, the average age has increased from 25.4 years in 1960 to 28.4 years in 1991. So, bakit nga ba big deal sa Korea kapag 30 na pero wala pa ring asawa? Dahil ito sa Confucian family custom whereby the production of sons who can continue the family name remains of paramount concern. May hirapan ng mabuntis or magkaanak ng lalaki yung mga babae, which is tradition nila na mag-anak ng maraming anak na lalaki. Bakit nga ba mga lalaki yung dapat na maging anak nila? Kasi dati mataas yung tingin nila sa mga lalaki, and yung mga lalaki yung tagapagmana tagapagmana nila at magdadala ng name nila in the next generation. Now let's proceed to the marriage and status in Korean society. Ang pagpapakasal ang isa sa major concerns ng mga parents sa Korea, because para sa kanila, marriage represents an opportunity to improve the status of the family at hindi lang because of affection towards someone. Traditionally kasi, yung mga young couples noon is walang kalayaan na mamili kung sino yung gusto nilang pakasalan kahit na mahal nila yung isa't isa. Kumbaga, wala silang choice kundi pakasalan yung mga inarrange para sa kanila kahit na hindi naman nila ito gusto. Today, Korean marriages include the following possible format. First is the fully arranged. Ito yung traditional way ng pagpapakasal. Next is the half arranged, half love. And lastly, the fully a love match. So, most marriages in the 1990s fall into the second category. Parents, relatives, or friends provide a suitable introduction, and bahala na yung couple na mag-decide whether they find each other compatible or not. Both the men and women in this form of introduction would have equal rights to accept or reject a future partner. Sa status considerations naman, although na-abolish or nawala na noong 1894 yung traditional hereditary status system, hindi pa rin nawala yung way nila na ang dapat nilang pakasalan ay yung same with their social and class status. For example nito are the wealth, educational level, and employment. So for the role of matchmakers naman, ito yung mga professional yet unlicensed matchmakers na tinatawag nilang Madam Two. Women using contraceptives in Korea. As we can see as time passed by, tumataas yung bilang ng mga gumagamit ng contraceptives. Mula noong 1964, 9.0% lang, hanggang sa tumaas siya ng tumaas. Noong 1991, naging 79.4% na siya. So one of the reason for this high percentage of married Korean couples using some form of contraception, and this has increased rapidly over the past 4 decades as a wider range of contraceptive technologies has become available. One of the contraceptives that they used is intrauterine devices and tubal ligations. So, ito yung more common than male-oriented methods like vasectomies and condoms. Another one is the female sterilization. So, ito yung major method na ginagamit nila as contraceptives. But in 1994, bumaba yung bilang ng mga gumagamit ng contraceptives because of different reasons. So, katulad nga ng sinabi ko, noong 1994, 1.8% of Korean couples using contraception relied on the pill. So, bakit nga ba bumaba yung bilang ng mga gumagamit ng contraceptives? Dahil in historical concerns, oral contraceptives sold in Korea during the 1960s contained high hormone levels, leading to concerns about side effects. And another reason is many Korean women believe that the pill is dangerous, fearing birth defects or sterility. And another reason is the reluctance to take the pill can be attributed to the conservative Confucian values that still permeate Korean society. So women are not encouraged to have control over their bodies and their sexuality, and many unmarried women are still ignorant about sex and contraception. Sa Confucian values kasi, if may knowledge ka about contraceptives, it means you are no longer innocent or you are already doing the sexual intercourse. One consequence of the low use of the contraceptive pill is the high incidence of abortion in Korea. Abortion has been a key factor in decreasing fertility in Korea. So, in official survey shows that 49% of Korean women of childbearing age have had at least one abortion, and the ratio of abortions to every 100 normal births was 79 out of 100 in 1991. So for women in the West, the abortion debate is framed around issue of choice and the right of a woman to have control over her own fertility. However, in Korea, abortion poses an entirely different set of problems for women because of the overarching Confucian culture of son preference. So the privileged status of boys over girls within the family has been challenged only recently with the passage of the Revised Family Law Act on December 19, 1989. So after more than 30 years, ipaglaban ng mga Korean women or naipanalo nila yung karapatan nila bilang isang babae sa isang lipunan or sa isang pamilya. Traditionally, women were discriminated against in the inheritance of property. Kasi nga, sa Korea, kapag lalaki ka, ikaw lang yung magmamana ng mga ari-arian ng mga magulang nyo. Since December 1989, in the absence of a will, all property is divided equally between all children regardless of sex. A childless widow is now entitled to receive half of her husband's property, with the remaining half going to his parents. In the event of divorce, both husband and wife have equal rights to properties gained after marriage, and custody of children is no longer automatically granted to the father. Yung custody naman ay magde-decide yung both kung kanino mapupunta yung bata. Another important na nangyari noong 1989 is the legal gain for women in relation to their domestic roles was the Mother-Child Welfare Act. So, etong act na ito is designed to safeguard the security and welfare of fatherless families by guaranteeing single mothers welfare allowance to cover the cost of raising their children, including education and vocational training fees. So, in this space or in this period, so nakikita naman natin na nagkakaroon na ng kalayaan yung mga kababaihan or nabibigyan na rin sila ng privilege. Women creating the economic miracle. So, in 1960, ang female labor participation ay 26.8%. And this is the only start of industrialization. In 1995 naman, naging 47.6% na siya. Bakit? Kasi may mga kababaihan na lumipat sa mga cities para magtrabaho as factory worker and on business works. 61.5% naman ito ay sa taong 1995. And women still earned only this percentage of the average monthly wage ng mga kalalakihan. So, wage gap improvement, meron namang 8.1% and increase in women's relative wages from 1990 to 1995. The stigma of female factory workers. Industrial soldiers. Ano nga ba yung industrial soldiers? The exhortations of the government to encourage women to join the industrial workforce and strive to build a strong Korean nation gave rise to the term industrial soldiers or sanopchonsa in Korean. Industrial soldiers were praised for their loyalty, diligence, obedience, and selflessness in a direct echo of the traditional Confucian prescriptions for women. In Kongsuni stereotype naman, Kongsuni which is referred as female factory worker. Kapag Kongsuni daw ang isang babae, ibig sabihin nito ay poor, unintelligent, and predisposed to sexual immortality. So, in terms of married women workers naman, although the participation of these married factory workers is more acceptable now than in earlier times, the women involved tend to view their jobs as temporary, just helping the family out during a brief period of increased expenditure. So, nagtatrabaho yung mga kababaihan, hindi para iangat yung status nila in society. Nagtatrabaho sila para lang matulungan yung family nila or yung mga magulang nila kahit na kasal na sila or separate na sila sa kanilang mga magulang. Education for social mobility. So education has not proved to be the doorway to greater employment status or career opportunities in Korea, as it has in other parts of Asia because of the continued privileging of domestic roles for women. The Korean education system has expanded dramatically since the Korean War in 1950 to 1953, and the educational level for both men and women has risen dramatically over the past 3 decades. As you can see, for those women who graduate with tertiary qualifications, there are considerable barriers inhibiting full participation in the workforce. In 1997, only 52.5% of female college graduates found employment. This represents a lower participation rate than for all women of the same age group of 20 to 24 years old. Ayan, so dito na tayo sa women's participation in politics and government. So hindi ko na siya iisa-isahin pa, but these high-level appointments come after decades of low levels of participation of women in Korean politics. Since independence in 1953, there have been 66 women legislators, a mere 2% of the total 3,233. In the judicial branch naman, women account for a mere 1.2% of the total 3,958 judges, prosecutors, and lawyers. So, ito na yung mga naging trabaho or mga naging role ng mga kababaihan in terms of politics and government. The Korean Women's Movement. So, dito na nag-umpisa yung talagang pag-aaklas sa mga kababaihan upang may paglaban yung kanilang mga karapatan. Noong 1970s to 1980s, women's movement focused primarily on the plight of female factory workers and aligned with nationalist movement. While in 1987, formation of Korean Women's Associations United, a coalition of 27 women's groups. In 1990s, focus on legislation addressing sexual and domestic violence against women, and in the present, addressing issues of gender politics, sexuality, and patriarchy previously ignored. Western feminism has many limitations as a full or as a tool for understanding women's situation in non-Western societies. So, Korean women's issues need to be understood within the framework of the Korean historical and social context. Most importantly, it needs to be understood that the aims and activities of the Korean women's movement have been heavily influenced by the development of the nationalist movement. Sexual and domestic violence. According to a 1989 study conducted by the Korea Criminal Policy Institute, Korea held the third highest rate of reported sexual assault in the world, topped only by the US and Sweden, according to Louis 1992. Despite the high incidence, Korean women are reluctant to report sexual assault crimes. The high moral value placed on female virginity and chastity in Korea means that in the situation of rape, the victim will often feel or be considered to be responsible for what has happened to them. For female rape victims in Korea, the prevailing culture is one of shame. Currently, only 2% of rapes are reported, according to Shame 1998. So, dahil nga sa culture ng Korean na kapagka na isa ka sa victim ng rape, ay kahihiyan yun sa bansang Korea. Kaya naman, kakaunti lang yung bilang ng mga kababaihan na nakakaranas nito, yung nagsusumbong sa kapulisan. Kasi nga, ang tingin sa kanila is kasalanan nila kung bakit sila nare-rape or kung bakit nila naranasan yon. In response to this distressing statistics and the reporting of a number of shocking incidents of sexual violence, in the 1990s, a collective of Korean women's group has actively campaigned for the introduction of legislation addressing sexual and domestic violence against women. The Women's Sexual Violence Relief Center, or SVRC, and the Women's Hotline were established in the 1980s to specifically deal with these issues. So, ito na yung mga progress and challenges for Korean women. So, in terms of legislative gains, nagkaroon ng Equal Employment Act, Family Law Act, Law Against Sexual Violence. In economic participation naman, nag-increase yung workforce participation despite persistent wage gaps. In terms of educational advancements, nag-increase naman yung women's education levels. But meron nga lang talagang challenges, which is the cultural barriers. Dahil nga sa Confucian values na nakasanayan nila, ay nahahadlangan yung karapatan ng mga kababaihan. So, in conclusion, industrialization has occurred in Korea at a rapid pace and has dramatically affected the social and economic status of Korean women, as well as realizing significant changes to the Korean family structure. The industrialization of the 1960s and 1970s saw a large-scale increase in female wage labor. This was followed by a period of politicization in the 1980s, where the growth of the economy and improved the standard of living allowed for a stronger focus on social issues. Various women's organizations were established and significant legislative changes improved women's legal status. Entrenched patriarchal and paternalistic values continue to run deep, as do traditional notions of gender roles, but the past 30 years have seen a definite elevation of women's status and the future looks brighter. So that is the coverage of Chapter 8, Women in Korea. That's all. 감사합니다.